everyone, I'm Kevin and I'm kind of a filmmaker, and today I have 10 unique camera moves that you, if you are also kind of a filmmaker, should remember for your next filmmaking project. These are unique camera moves that you don't see in films very often, and they have very specific meanings behind them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the technique, tell you why I think it works in the specific situation it's used in, and also tell you how I would do it practically. But before we get into it, please like and subscribe this video because I need all the likes and subscribes that I can possibly get. So let's get into it. It absolutely blows my mind that this camera move was used in a film from 1957. In the movie The Cranes Are Flying, we see this man running up the staircase, and as he goes, the camera rises and spins with him. I've also seen this shot in Euphoria, but I'm sure it was a lot easier in modern day with something like a techno crane to help out. However, back in the day, this move was accomplished using a rig made of a spinning, tall scaffolding frame with a platform rising up with it, whatever that means. I think this move mimics the sense of joy this character is having and brings the audience along with it, as if the audience was rising towards heaven with the character. And by the way, this film is generally one of my favorite films of all time for cinematography, so if you haven't seen it, check it out. I call this shot the Stairway to Heaven. You should remember this simple camera move for your next dialogue scene. I found this move in the film Vivre Sa Vie, and it is when two people are talking to one another, and instead of cutting from close-up to close-up to close-up to close-up, you have one camera on a tripod behind both of them, and when one character talks, you just pan to that character, and when the other character talks, you pan back. It's kind of like you're playing ping pong or something. It gives the scene a sort of quirkiness, and also the metaphor could be looked at something like people bouncing ideas off one another. This is more than just a simple pan, it's a technique with a meaning behind it, and that can only be used in certain situations. Obviously, all you need for this is a good tripod. I obviously call this one the Ping Pong. This is one of the craziest camera moves I have ever seen, and it came in one of the director of Dune's first feature films. In the movie Cosmos, we see this character go into a club that would remind you of something out of Zoolander. The people are dancing, the music is pumping, and the energy is very high. And the camera work matches that energy. This wild, almost random assortment of camera moves matches the erratic nature of the club perfectly. And the reason I love this so much is because I think the camera work and the editing should match the energy of a scene whenever possible. So for your next party scene, get crazy with it, don't follow the rules, and just do whatever feels right in the moment and then edit that together in post. I call this the techno dance party. Remember in Dragon Ball Z when Gohan and Goku went into the hyperbolic time chamber? Well, this camera move is pretty much just like that because it condenses a large amount of time into a small amount of time. In Hunt for the Wilder People, we see Ricky walk into the woods by himself, and at one point we see him eating a sandwich while the camera is panning to the right. But once the camera passes Ricky, it doesn't stop. Instead, it keeps going, and we see him again and again, each time representing a different period in time. This move is also used later in the film, I think to greater effect, when him and his foster dad are walking through the woods, and you see them walk off, and then you see a dog, and then you see them again, and then you see the people who are searching for them. This shot kind of feels like the cylinder shot from Euphoria, where the camera seems to be traveling through time. If you want to do this on your own time though, you're going to need something like the Shoe Tools Auto Panner that you can program to spin at the same speed every time, and then you're going to want to do that multiple times with different people in the shot at different takes. And then you're going to stitch those takes together in post. In honor of DBZ, I call this the panoramic time chamber. You've heard about the round table shot because I showed you, but have you heard about the round table reverse? Well, of course you have, because it's one of the most famous shots in that 70s show. You know the one I'm talking about, the one where the camera's in the middle of the table and it just kind of spins on an axis and shows each person around the table. You can see how they did this in the YouTube video, That 70s Show Final Goodbye, around the 1822 mark, and here's what it looks like.
Well, the 360s are very, very hard because you all sit in a circle and the camera is in the middle and it goes from person to person to person and it's right in your face.
A slower version of this can be found in Full Metal Jacket, but if you want a more comedic effect, then do what That 70s Show did and do more of a whip pan style. This again is the round table reverse shot, and it is a way to establish characters who are sitting at a table. Spike Lee is a master at filmmaking, and there is nothing that better illustrates this than his expert use of camera moves, including his iconic double dolly shot, which is a technique where both the actor and the dolly seem to move in tandem, like they are connected. One of the most famous uses of this technique is from the movie Malcolm X, where it seems like Denzel Washington's character is floating. The metaphor behind this move can be interpreted different ways, including maybe that destiny is somehow pulling this character forward and he cannot escape. Now to pull this off, you really just need 2 dollies, one for the camera and one for the person, and you need to push them at an equal rate or connect them somehow and push them at the same time. I don't know where this move first originated, but I do remember the first time I saw it was in the movie Ivan's Childhood by Andrei Tarkovsky, and it's honestly kind of a more intense version of that shot, as we see Ivan here just kind of floats up into the air with the camera. It's the same idea behind it. The character and the dolly move at the same pace, but in this situation, Ivan is in a dream and he is floating up into the air. Why in the world would Spike Lee use this camera move? In He Got Game, we see the greatest actor of all time, Ray Allen, walking down the street, and the camera is panning with him. But we get to this point where he is about to pass the camera, and I'll give you 3 choices. What do you think that the camera is going to do? A, is it going to pan to the left with him? B, is it going to pan to the right away from him? Or C, is it going to just stay there and let him walk off screen? That's right, it's B, watch. This honestly seems like Spike Lee is just breaking rules to break them, but I do love this camera move because I think it surveys the environment. I'm not sure it's the most effective in this specific instance, but let me know why you think Spike Lee used it in this instance. For some reason, I also think it gives Ray Allen some kind of swagger. I'm not sure why. I call this one the long pan. This camera move is perfect for the next time that I try to drink away the memory of my ex. In the 1943 experimental film Meshes of the Afternoon, we see the main character wobbling up the stairs as if she is drunk. Now, I'm not sure if she's actually drunk in this movie because, like I said, the film is very experimental. This also might be interpreted as some sort of nightmare, but I think it also works in that case too because you have probably experienced nightmares before where you do not have any control over your limbs. So this is perfect for that scenario as well. And this is super easy to do. Just handhold the camera, and when the character tilts to the left, tilt the camera to the right. And when the character tilts to the right, tilt the camera to the left. I call this the Weeble Wobble. Who knew the movie He Got Game was a cinematic masterpiece? Here we see Ray Allen and his girlfriend on this bench in front of a fair, and I believe at this point in the movie he is trying to decide whether he should go to one college, which is further away, or go to another college, which is closer, which maybe he can be with his girlfriend if he goes to one college or the other. I'm not entirely sure, it's been a while since I watched this movie, but I think the undertones of this scene are him trying to make a decision. He is going back and forth about which college to pick. And to represent that with the camera move, Spike Lee just takes the camera and kind of trucks it on a track back and forth, back and forth, back and forth throughout this entire conversation. It's something I've honestly never seen done in a movie before, and I think it's pretty cool. Now, obviously, to do this right, you probably need either a Steadicam or some kind of a dolly track. And yes, this is similar to the Ping Pong move, which I just showed you earlier in this video, but it's not exactly the same. I call this the back and forth. Finally, we have another camera move from one of my favorite movies for cinematography of all time, The Cranes Are Flying. Here we can see the main character starting to run, and she starts to get faster and faster, until she's running past this fence. Then the camera cuts in close and you see these fence posts flying by her with super nice motion blur, and it makes it look like she is running at about 100 miles an hour. I think the camera might also be undercranked here, which basically just means it looks more choppy and sped up, but the combination of whatever they're doing with the camera and the fact that the foreground is closer to the camera just gives you a sense of depth and speed that not having a patterned foreground would not give you, if that made any sense. Basically what I'm saying is if you do a shot like this, the more things on the frame that you see move quickly makes it look like she's going faster than she really is. I call this the flash. And that's all I have for you today. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos because I have about 20 more camera moves that I can show you. And let me know if you know of any camera moves that you want to be on this show as well. And also like and subscribe and like and subscribe and like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff because